Welcome to Focus. My name is Leroy Smith, and I have with me presidential candidate for the Assembly for Liberty and Prosperity, Ms. Simona Broomes, a former minister within the APNU AFC administration. Ms. Broomes, welcome to Big Smith News Watch. Welcome to Focus. Welcome to our studios.
And thank you. Good afternoon, Big Smith. And it's a pleasure for me being here. I'm really impressed. Really impressed.
Thanks.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. So you have aspirations to become the president of Guyana. You hope that you could become the president of Guyana after the casting of votes on the 1st of September, which is next week, Monday. Why do you believe the Guyanese should put their trust in you to lead this country?
Well, for one, Big Smith, I think the Guyanese, without me expecting, or was not to say it was a political dream or ambition from way before, people got the opportunity to know me for who I am and the truth. My heart, I'm just not appearing on the scene and, selling myself, but I think that people know a lot about me and my position, my passion for people and Guyana. Hence, at this time, I believe that what is taking place in Guyana, and more so with the people, and poverty and the ordinary and the working class, I know, not that I believe, I know that I just cannot make an impact or a good change sitting from the sideline and looking on. I believe that Guyana needs me and it can benefit from me. It can benefit from me more in an independent capacity. And hence, I am here. And I would like to say to Guyanese people, you can vote for Simona Charles Broomes come September 1st because you know my heart. Guyana's greatest assets is as the citizens of the nation. And that is my biggest passion and concern.
Tell us about the people on your slate, who's surrounding you as you move or you eye the presidency.
Well, around me, we have a lot of competent people. And that's a beautiful question because oftentimes I think that that is the focus. I must say from the outset, we have competent people to manage. We have young people, brilliant minds, professional. But what makes us different is that the value that we see in the ordinary man, woman, boy, and girl, for example, the woman who might live in a remote area that has a passion for people, who've been working as an individual to stand up against poverty, helping the poor and things like that. So we have a wide range of persons that we believe is necessary that can make that good change and that impact. Because one of the things is that we must have a love for Guyana and its people. We have people with transparency and integrity is big on our slate. When we were looking, when we were having our candidates, they always tend to get a police clearance and things like that because we believe that to sit in these offices, we must carry a particular posture and character when we talk about transparency and integrity.
You talk about posture and offices and so on, but you're famous for the boom out in the National Assembly after the APNU was brought to office following the 2015 elections. And then there was the issue with the parking lot at Massy. And so I think for us to do, or when you mention the issue of, the office, the seat and so on, when it comes from Simona Broomes, those things will pop up in the minds or in the memories of persons. And I don't really think you ever really spoke to those two issues. I know it's years gone, but what would you say, given the backdrop of what you said and what took place?
But I mean, the first thing I would say, Big Smith, touching on the boom out, that was not a crime. I didn't commit a crime. I didn't break a rule. Parliament was not in session. I've seen men on the floor, and I know for sure as a woman, people tried to discredit you and attack your character in politics, in business, and in public life. They go after women in a real nasty way. I did not break a rule. The parliament was not in session. The speaker was not in the house. I was in the House, in the National Assembly, and I looked at the video and I was just, being who I am. I'm just a woman, an ordinary woman like everybody else. And that video got to a young member and put it out there. So, I mean, that was not a crime, but it's good that you raised that because when you look at how I was treated, as if I committed a crime, or if there was something wrong with my character or my conduct, I was just being a woman. I was just there, and the house is empty, and I did a video. And it went over to the public, and that was very deliberate. Coming to the parking lot issue, you know of that issue personally. You were at my office when those people called to apologize to me, came to my office. And in fact, the guy of himself, who never made an allegation against me, which is strange, never made an allegation against me, not even in their statements, because I did him nothing. I did none of them anything. In fact, what happened there, I was the person being attacked. I came out the vehicle, I just explained myself. I moved the chair from in the way. I didn't say anything to the guy, but to say, I'm unwell, and it's true. We were just because we were in the parking lot. So it's really good that you raised that, Leroy, because not only yourself, Gordon Mosley, I could call name Royston Drakes. This other guy used to be at you always at my office when the manager for that company called me. I didn't call them. Came with the head of security to apologize to me because he said that persons was pushing a political mischief with it. And then he further explained when the media was there, he said, man, the guy was advised not to come over and to apologize. So that again was a perception, and it played in well. A lot of people contributed to it. Politics is, people say it's dirty, it's the people behind it. And they played it into the media, and the perception was out there. But I mean, the truth of the matter, I never did the guy anything. I did not verbally say anything to him. The commissioner of police, who is the commissioner of police sitting now, was on the phone. He was listening to what was happening in the background. So it's unbelievable how life turns around, and now you're the person to interview me and raise this question. And you know what I'm saying here is true because you were present there. You were present at my office when those people approached me. So again, that is it's regrettable. But I believe that there's always a fight on great people, and more so women with a purpose to discredit you. And there's no apologies for it. Being a black woman who stands and has principles and things like that, you always find people coming after you. But there's no malice from that. I think that all of that, taught me a lot.
Well, I was just about to ask you if it's a learning experience.
Yeah, it taught me a lot because, sometimes everything come to us, we make ourselves into a victim. But for me, I use those things to motivate me because what was clear for me is that while I did nothing, what happened and what should I take away from it, and things like that. How simple people, I got the experience also to know how easily people can discredit and put perception out there about people and all of that. And so for me, that was one experience. I mean, in politics, I wouldn't even call it a blow. You know me, Leroy, I love to pray. At that time, everybody was fighting, but I was praying and I was talking to God. And I got strength there. There's where I get my strength. And here I am today.
You've not had any major rallies. I asked the candidate for another party the same question, for one of the smaller parties. You've not done any major rallies, but you've been visiting communities and so on because that we see that on social media. What has been the response like for you and your candidates and the party going into these communities seeking election to office?
Well, for me, our experience on the ground is one that was very warming for me. And I'd say that because a lot of people in the communities know of me, know what I've done, so it was very welcoming. A lot of conversations, a lot of one-on-one, and because of who I am again, people were able to, we had conversation, what do you think, what you feel, and even persons from different political parties, the bigger parties, be it the PPP party and so on. We met, we talked, had discussion. There was no confrontation and things like that. We did it that way because we're not running in all 10 regions, one, and then two, I have to be careful of how we manage resources and things like that and what are the target. The target is numbers. We're looking for first-time voters. We're looking for persons who don't want to vote. When we go on a rally, people could just come, yes, and cheer. But we believe that going on the ground and being one-on-one within a big space where it is a very unkind setting, even from GCOM of the Self, I think GCOM has really been treating us as if, like you're just some tag-alongs and so forth. It's regrettable, but that will change. We have the resilience to deal with that. But it should not be. It's not no level playing field in terms of information, in terms of how they respond to you and all of that. But here we are going to the polls, and I want to thank all the candidates and the persons within communities. Big Smith, I was not there when some of the persons put their signatures to nominate and to give us their signatures to get on the ballot paper. But when I returned to those communities, I returned to those people to say, hey, I want to thank you. I thank you for signing, because without your signature, we were not able to get on the ballot paper. So for you, it's just your signature, and for you, it's just a good gesture. But for me, I'm here with gratitude to say thank you that you believe that at this time in Guyana's history and politics that I can make a difference and bring that good change that we were talking about.
If you miss the presidency, when it comes to the National Assembly, but let's say you make it to the National Assembly, what will be your agenda?
Well, Big Smith, we have a blueprint. And presidency or not, that is what we will work with. We talk in our mission statement about collaboration. And so getting into the National Assembly, we have to collaborate. We have to advocate to ensure that what we're talking about, and I really believe our blueprint and what we're standing for. Any Guyanese, including the president, would love to work and to benefit, because it's the people and will benefit from the things that we're talking about. No one party has all the answers and all the fates, and no doubt that there's some great people all over. And so if we're coming in there, for example, to deal with the issues of women and youths, and we have a policy that will really drive home that we can support and work with to see the lives of our young people and not just having dreams, but them becoming a reality. Why any good leader or any leader in Guyana not want to collaborate to ensure that that becomes a reality? If all of us love people, and Guyanese people are how we say we do, even in the campaign and in manifestos, what is the problem in us coming together to work for the poor? One might say, but it has always been a problem. It never happens. But that's why we are there to hold them accountable. We are all accountable in the National Assembly to what you promise, what you put in your manifesto, and what you run on these big platforms and say, now we're going to hold you accountable. And we have these sit-downs right in here with Big Smith to report on some of the same things. So we intend to hold to that.
You are coming into the line for the presidency, having served under a government which is accused heavily of not doing enough for its base. Well, I shouldn't say its base, because that goes to party. I'm speaking about government, so my apologies. You're coming from a party that is accused of not doing enough for young people, and not doing enough of what was promised in their manifesto. So how can persons be able to differentiate to say, hey, Simona Broomes, although she might have served there, we can expect something different and so on from her, with her coming alone. How confident can persons be that might be
Well,
the
I mean,
case?
persons can be very confident, Big Smith. I was a part of a government, and people will always need more. But one thing for sure is that the offices that I hold, even in my own capacity, have always worked well. I've always reached out in truth for the young people. I've always reached out for the poor people before taking office. This is who I am. And again, that did not change when I got into office. You know, to deal with the situation with labor and the problems that people have. At the Ministry of Labor, you have to have a compassion for people, for us to listen. I think that leaders have a problem in listening, you know. There's no compassion and patience there. A lot of that you saw happening when we were in office. So, in spite of what persons would have said, a lot of people too, Big Smith, said that, listen, Miss Broomes, we separate you because we remember what you have done. And you have done well by the people. So it is not about, I am happy that they of themselves, the people of themselves can say, Miss Broomes, listen, we know because you have done well. The young people know because they know that I did well. And, you know, Big Smith, it's amazing to sit here with you too as a youngster. Because you know, even then, I said to you, you have so much ability and I always wish you well. So it's nothing strange. This is who I am.
What message do you want? Well, I every presidential candidate that I interview, I will ask them this question. What are your views on the incumbent, President Mohamed Irfan Ali? What are your views on Aubrey Norton, Nigel Hughes, Amanzo Walton Desir, and Azruddin Mohammed? What are your views on these other presidential candidates?
Well, to Big Smith, I would love to take the time off to tell you about yours truly and what we're doing in the ALP. Because my views on either person's it's just my views. And we're in a stage and a time for elections. And I'm sure that every candidate will go out there and sell themselves. But Guyanese people of themselves, all the candidates that are before them, they know the candidates. And what is important is how people view us. Oftentimes, as leaders, and you're running for a big position, you're trampling on each other because now you want to sell yourself to the people. So you're fighting within. But what is different and what I like is how people view Simona Charles Broomes. The views of the people, you know? And that is why I'm here to say to persons and to sit down with these interviews. And I like it that it's not one that, you know, you prompt and you wind up and all of that, but just to have this natural conversation so that people can hear and know more about Simona Charles Broomes. So I beg to differ from getting into the views, you know, of the other leaders in any way, shape, or fashion.
Are you comfortable with the campaign atmosphere as we go into election and the general atmosphere on the ground among the electorate?
Well, I am not comfortable. I think that in what I'm seeing here, that on the 1st of September, you have to have an election. So everything is just scattered all over the place. And, you know, so I'm not comfortable. You're going into an election with a list that is bloated, with GCOM that has, you know, a negative and a bad posture towards us. And how do they hold themselves accountable and as if they are a political party by themselves? That when you scrutinize them, that's our job to scrutinize GCOM to ensure that they bring credible elections to the Guyanese people. So for me, as a Guyanese and as the leader of the ALP, I really would love to see, and that is why we have a lot of young people lifting the bar at this time, because, you know, the type of messaging, and then sometimes there's no even message. It's just because there's a perception out there, and we must not run away from it with race in politics, that You vote the two major parties at the time will come so that leaders do what they want in either the parties, knowing that when it comes to election, people will go back to the poll and vote because you can say, oh, don't split the vote. What are you talking about split? If you have a government and they don't perform, my thing is that you vote them out. If you have an opposition and they don't perform, you don't put them into a government. It's straight like that. It's not a chance. It's not a sample. We are a nation of people, and this is something that is going over and over. Big Smith, young people between 16 to 25 in a dilemma, between 25 and 35, like there's no hope, there's no independence. Like you got to know somebody to get something, to do some business. I mean, no, all of that must stop. You know,
I
it
see you
must.
made a I see you made a clear part there for a third party. You said if the government doesn't perform, you vote them out. If the opposition doesn't perform, you don't make them the government. So you're right away making a clear case that there is need for a third force.
There's always and there will always be need, and it is really good. For Guyana, we can even go back when the AFC came on stream. A lot was happening in Guyana, and they got 3 seats. And in 2011, managed to have a minority government in the parliament, which really brought some pull
Weight,
things back.
some
Exactly,
weight to,
some weight.
the
And
way to third parties.
so exactly, and then going into the 2015 and coming in as a coalition and change government. So we have to look at things broader in the best interest of Guyana and Guyanese people. It is important that we just don't allow for the two major parties, based on what we have seen, to just run away and do what you want because you know there's a system that provides, and people at the end of the day, you're so confident that you will fail the people that vote you there, knowing that they will come and vote you again. Young people must not go forward with that. I want to be there, and we want to be there to hold them accountable. You know, hold them accountable.
The elections are Monday, a few days away.
Yeah.
Not sure yet when you're seeing this interview. But what is your final pitch to the persons who are undecided? And before we get to undecided, during your door campaigns and so on, or meet and greet and so on the ground, what are the type of voters that your party seems to be attracting mostly?
Well,
And I speak to demographic and whether it's somebody who hasn't voted before and stuff like what.
yeah. Well, a lot of persons that never voted before, and a lot of persons who voted but said that we're not going to vote again. A lot of those. Minister Broomes, I was not going to vote again. I tell you, no lie, I swear. And for me, that was alarming, knowing the amount of persons that was not going to vote. I think that if you look at the military vote and you look at what will happen on Monday, the ALP will manage to bring more persons out to the polls. Because the type of person that we're attracting, if they did not
You
vote.
believe that you're responsible for the high turnout?
Well, I'm not going to say, well, me, but the mere fact that what is happening out there, you know, we got other parties there that people are riling up about regardless of what you say. And we got to face the facts. You know, the voters are not just out there because of the too big a major player that was out there. No, I don't believe that at all. And I'm looking forward to seeing that rolling on to the 1st of September, you know. And so to come to answer, to say, I want to say to women, and I've been saying this over and over, I don't want to open the papers, I don't want to open the news to see another woman murdered, slaughtered, gunned down, or a family of women being massacred. I don't want to see the kids being raped. I don't want to see the girls being raped and exploited. I don't want to see that. So I ask the women, it is time. You have never had a Simona Charles Broomes coming in the campaign, coming with not just the experience, the compassion, the repetition, but the integrity to deal with these matters. And I ask you to vote ALP. So I'm making a pitch to the women. I want to say to young people, this ALP is you. That good change you want to see in Ghana and you're looking for, it is within you. And the ALP is the door for you. It's not closed, it's well open. And so the conversation today, the change and the answer to all this, the answer to Guyana is the young people. So I want to say to the young people, vote it, the ALP, vote a good change.
Thank you very much, Ms. Broomes. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching another edition of Focus, and the guest was the presidential candidate for the Assembly of Liberty and Prosperity, Ms. Simona Charles Broomes. My name is Leroy Smith. Do have a fantastic rest of the day, and we'll see you again shortly.